Every human suffers, every life form suffers because life is hard and challenging and precarious. For every life form, from the moment life comes into being, life is challenging and precarious. For humans, for animals, for plants. Every life form encounters obstacles in its attempt to grow and expand. And it continuously encounters obstacles to its expansion. Every human, in one form or another, if you come into this world, very quickly you'll find obstacles, seeming obstacles, to your expansion and growth and well-being and flowering. If you think about your so-called life, how many obstacles life seems to have put in your path towards happiness. And some people perceive life as, life continuously is sabotaging my attempts to find happiness. Why is that? And then they have these strange theories that God is against me or whatever the theory is. But it does seem like, and this is related to the Buddhist term dukkha or suffering, wherever you go, you will find life is sometimes helpful and then obstacles again. And all of this is perceived as some people believe if you only protract this positive thinking continuously, you will no longer encounter obstacles. But that, unfortunately, is not the case. Positive thinking is a great thing, can be extremely helpful and bring about certain shifts in you. But it does not free you from experiencing the obstacles that life will put in your path and the challenges that come. So those obstacles, whether they come in the form of loss or illness or relationship problems, many of them arise from their own mind because your mind creates an enormous amount of problems that are quite unnecessary. But the mind doesn't know that. So the mind creates an enormous amount of conflict that is unnecessary in your life. That's one kind of obstacle, it's your own mind. And then, again, you need to experience the consequences of the obstacles that your own mind creates. The conflicts and the unnecessary problems that your own mind, because you identified with the mind, creates. You need to experience the suffering that you create for yourself out of that unconsciousness. Of unconsciousness means completely identifying with the mind, the egoic mind, which in many cases transforms challenges which could be solved easily into much bigger problems. So you have the mind-created obstacles that you ultimately create yourself because you're not conscious enough. And then you encounter suffering. This is one level of suffering. And this is you need to experience the suffering that comes through the unconscious use of the mind in order to awaken. It's only through the suffering that, eventually, you say, I can't take any more. Obstacles come to you seemingly from the outside, that suddenly you have an accident, an illness. That's a kind of outside, many things can happen, but you seem, I haven't created that. Of course, in the New Age, it's very normal to say when things go wrong in your life. The typical New Age person will say, how did you create that? You slipped on a banana skin and broke your leg. Why did you create that? It's an interesting question. Whether even those obstacles or challenges that come to you, not seemingly not from your own mind but from the outside. Did you still create that or not? There is a simple recipe here, which is like this. Accept each moment as if you had created it. Accept each moment as if you had wanted it or caused it. Whatever happens, you accept this moment as if you had chosen it. That's a good recipe for working because if it already is the case, you might as well accept whatever is as if you have chosen it because it's already here. It doesn't mean you chose it. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. It doesn't matter. It's still accepted as if you had chosen it. That shifts things. Your whole attitude shifts. and it dissolves more quickly than whatever the obstacle is. There's no suffering that is inevitable. There's no suffering that you have to undergo. You may have to undergo pain, but pain and suffering are not the same thing. Pain, yes, it's there, sometimes physical pain, but suffering is a creation of the mind. Pain is there. It's a sensation. But suffering is created by the mind. And so, it's optional. So that's the good news. If you want to have suffering, nobody's going to stop you. You can have as much suffering as you want. But if you don't want to suffer, if you don't want to inflict suffering on others through your own suffering, because that's what you do, then there is a way to end suffering. And it's not through suppressing it or denying it, but through being able to feel it fully when it arises. There's the way to end suffering. When suffering arises, you don't want to push it aside. You don't want to suppress it, deny it. You allow it to be there, but you don't believe in it anymore. You allow it to be there as if you allow a cloud to be there. It's an energy field, and you are the sky. The sky does not mind the cloud being there. It doesn't need to be there. It doesn't mind the cloud appearing. In fact, it quite likes the cloud appearing, because otherwise, it would be always blue and sunny. It likes to have some variety in the sky. So it quite appreciates the cloud being there. And so, it doesn't need the cloud to go away. It just allows it to be there. Oh, look, a cloud. The mind could say, oh, look, suffering, and that's the end of suffering. That's the way to end suffering. It's not by denying it or suppressing it, but by fully allowing it to be there and seeing it for what it is, which is a temporary energy field that arises and dissolves in the vastness of who you are. We express our heartfelt gratitude for your presence and engagement throughout this video. Thanks for watching, and until next video, take care and stay tuned for the upcoming content.